was born on the island of Mykonos, which is, Greece has two volcanic islands. One is Santorini, and the other one is Mykonos. And it must be that volcanic water we drink. And why did I write the book? Well, like I said, I was approaching 70 years old, 71 years old. I didn't want to get Alzheimer's and forget. and I thought that was important. I wanted my kids, my grandkids, to know where they came from. And I'm telling everybody out there that's in his 60s, start thinking about writing a book. Because we all go through journeys. And we all have kids and grandkids. And you want them to know where you came from. My two grandfathers came from the old country in 1913. And they came to the old country looking for the streets paved with gold. Well, it took me over 100 years to find it. And they all came, and they all worked 100 hours a week. My two uncles came in 1925, 1930. They left my father in the old country to take care of his three sisters and his mother. And my father, for 17 years, worked on a lighthouse by himself. We went to this lighthouse, and it's a piece of rock with a lighthouse on it. 17 years by himself with a few goats and whatever. And it was owned, those islands at those times, was owned by the Italian government. And I'm a member of the Columbus Club. Why am I a member of the Columbus Club? When I was, great food. When I was conceived, the World War II was over in 1945, 46. When I was conceived, those islands were part of Italy. When I was born, it was part of Greece. Because what happens? The Brits, who ran everything in Europe, they said, Italy, you're on the wrong side. We're taking all those islands away from you, and we're giving it back to Greece. And so that way I was conceived a Greek, an Italian, born a Greek. But when I do my DNA, it turns out, because the Greeks, the Italians, the Jews, it was one people, Mediterranean. And I was 28% Italian, 60% Macedonian Greek, because I guess my mother was from Constantinople, northern, where it's called Istanbul now. And there's a lot of Jews up there, because all the Jews that came from Spain, and they moved over when they were thrown out of Spain. And I'm 6% Jewish. Why 6%? When you read the books, you find out that if it's 6%, either your great-grandmother or one of your great-grandfathers was Jewish. So I tell all my Jewish friends, you know what I told all my Jewish friends? One of my great-grandfathers was screwed by a Jew. Oh. But I tell you, most of my friends are Jewish. Most of my friends are Italian. So when you're one of them, or one of us, one of all of us, you feel good. And in the old days, we all joked around with each other. I grew up in Western Harlem, on 135th Street between Broadway and West End Avenue. And Lewiston Stadium was up there, City College was there. I went to PS 192 that was just built up there. And we all, one big happy family. We had Irish, we had Jews, we had Spanish, we had everybody. And we all lived together. I remember so many times I had friends in Astoria. We would walk up Amsterdam Avenue all the way down Amsterdam Avenue, all the way across 125th Street. And there was no problems. You know, people said to me, well, when did the problems happen in Harlem? I'm going to tell you a sad thing because I'm older than a lot of you guys, and I'll tell you when it happened. Vietnam. When the kids came back from Vietnam, and a lot of them were drug addicts, that's when Harlem turned. And it was very sad that we couldn't save some of those kids, some of those people. I got involved on 135th Street. William Fitzryan was my congressman. He gave me the congressional nomination to go to West Point because I always wanted to go either the Air Force Academy or West Point. Well, I came home, my mother cried, my father yelled. I was an only child. Okay? I didn't go. We ended up going to NYU Uptown campus when there was an Uptown campus. And it was a great school. And my friend Jonathan Farkas, because from Alexander's Department Stores, we went to school together up there. And I remember his mother donated like $7 million to NYU at that time to build new buildings. And everything was great until years later, NYU ended up going broke and they had to sell the Uptown campus. I don't know where to begin and end. I'm so involved with so many charities. I'm so involved with a lot of businesses. I started in the supermarket business. And all my vendors liked me. All my vendors liked me. I ended up, how did we grow? I had a law firm, Stein, Rosen, and Ornstein.
All Greeks.
All Greeks. Somebody told me I have to have a Jewish lawyer. And Sam Stein, and his brother was Louis Stein, who was chairman of Food Fair. And that goes on and on and on. Sam Stein owned a wholesale grocery company in New Jersey called Filigree Foods. And he got the liking to me. I opened up one store, and it's a long story, that one store. Then Sam Stein, I had no banking experiences. I was going to school for engineering. Well, every time I needed money, Sam Stein would call up the controller of Filigree Foods, which is a wholesale grocer, and said, give John more money. And I started with one grocery store when I was a senior at NYU. I didn't graduate. You know, I told all my friends I was 8 credits short. You know, I would look at that calculus equation, and I would say, how the hell am I going to make any money solving that calculus equation? No way. There was no way. So I was 8 credits short, mostly in my calculus class. We ended up I started with one store when I was still going to NYU. And in those days, NYU, 5 days a week. What is this crap where my daughter went to NYU and my son went to NYU? You know, they schedule their courses 3 days a week and you're off the rest of the week. I mean, that's a lot of crap. I mean, nobody works anymore.
Right.
You know, and we ended up with Sam Stein's help and another guy from a company called World Dairy, Lou Israel, kept giving me money. Build another store, build another store. When I built more stores, they were doing more business. No bank debt. And we built like 10 stores by the age of 23, 24. And I started, Margaret, you're talking.
What? Sorry.
I was making $1 million a year, which was a lot of money in 1973.
Enormous.
That wasn't $1 million, it was really worth $1 million. And I just kept going. And I didn't care about money. I cared about success. And I try to talk about it in the book. I cared more about success than I cared for money. I worked. And don't forget, I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be this, I wanted to do that. And eventually, I ended up going into the real estate business. Why the real estate business? When my lease came up in one of my stores, the landlord wanted triple rent. I said, oh crap. I said, if you don't own the real estate, I tell that to all real estate, all store owners, if you don't own the real estate, guess what? Someday you're gonna get screwed. And I started buying real estate, and I took the excess cash out of the supermarket business, bought real estate. So then, by 3-4 years later, we were in the real estate business, we were in the supermarket business, and we kept buying. In 1977, the end of the world was coming to New York. The end of the world. I remember 1977. Oh my God!
And the snowstorm.
On the 30 inches of snow. And it was. I wanted to learn how to fly airplanes, so I went out and started to learn how to fly an airplane. And I wanted to. You start with a single-engine airplane. By the age of 28, 29, I was successful in real estate. I was successful in supermarkets. I said, I'm going to go out and buy a jet. And we ended up being successful in the aviation business. We built up that aviation business, the corporate jet company, to 48 corporate jets. And I used to fly them all. And we were supplying Atlantic City. How do we supply Atlantic City? You know, when you live in New York City or Philadelphia, they used to send a limousine to pick you up.
Yeah.
I convinced Atlantic City that you can bring in more customers if you do it within a 500-mile radius. Rent my jets, 500-mile radius, you bring in the customers. So, you know, you pay us $5,000 for the jet for the round trip. They'll lose $20,000 and everybody's happy. So we went into the aviation business. I was a dreamer. We ended up buying an airline. We ended up buying an oil company. I kept buying. In 1986, a lot of you, Ron Perlman bought Pantry Pride supermarkets. He ended up selling me the supermarkets in Florida, and I gave him the money to help buy Revlon. I was there. It happened. And, Margo?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Give me the backstory. The backstory.
And there's no reason. And so I ended up with supermarkets all over Florida. I ended up with supermarkets all over the Virgin Islands. I ended up with supermarkets in New York. And and we had, what do we have? And I was stationed in Nashville, Smyrna, Tennessee, running the airline. It goes on and on and on. Charities, I couldn't make up my mind what to get involved in. So you know what we did? Got involved in all of them. Got involved in kids charities, PAL, Boy Scouts, Margo got involved in diseases, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's. I got involved in diabetes because there was diabetes in my family. So my advice to everybody, when you don't know what to get involved in everything. Why not? You know? And have fun at the same time. Work hard, have fun, help people. I had many mentors that helped me get where I'm getting. And I'll tell you, let's say if I had 10 mentors, probably 8 of the 10 were probably Jewish. They helped me in the food industry. They helped me in charities. One of them was Bob Morgenthau, our DA. And I worked very closely with Bob Morgenthau. And he ran the police athletic league. And for 40 years I worked with him until he passed. He passed away at 99 years old in like 10 months, which was very sad. We were planning his 100th birthday. But now I'm chairman of the Police Athletic League, following Bob Morgenthau, trying to help the kids of the inner city. And, you know, I was a Democrat. I ran Bill Clinton's campaigns back in the 90s. And then my daughter married a Republican. So to have peace at the table at Thanksgiving Day, I converted to being a Republican. When I ran for mayor in 2013 as a Republican liberal. I go to Staten Island and says, "You're a liberal? What are you gonna do with a liberal?" I said, "Look, you know what a liberal is? A liberal is a person who cares about our kids in the inner city." And you know, after I talked to them, they said, yeah, you're right. You know, look, you can't help the whole world. And that's my argument with President Biden. You can't help the whole world. Let's help our kids of the inner city. Let's help our poor of the inner city. Let's help our vets that are homeless in the streets of New York before we worry about helping the people from South America or Africa. I think we worry about the United States of America first. Look, they need help in Africa. They need help in Central America. Send them money. Send them food. You know, and that's important. I got involved with the Greek Orthodox Church. I am now the head of the Greek Orthodox Church, the highest ranking layperson, reporting to the Archbishop and reporting to the Patriarch in Constantinople. I work with the Ecumenical Patriarch, with our communications with the Jewish community, in communications with the Pope, and in New York, I love Cardinal Dolan. He's a wonderful man. Rabbi Schneier is my rabbi in New York, and Rabbi Protashnik, and Rabbi Butman. Every year for 30 years, I've been lighting that menorah. And this year, I was looking around very carefully, and I was like, on and on and on. We're in the, like I said, supermarket business, aviation business. I was a banker at one time. I was chairman and CEO of the first New York bank. And it's so many stories. I can't tell them all. So I'd rather give you the opportunity to ask some questions and tell me what you want to hear. I mean, where do we begin? David, tell me.
I'll ask the first question.
Tell me the first
This way we'll get it all going. So, in the book, I was fascinated with Sunshine, okay? And you know, you were married, you got divorced, and you had this woman who was your assistant working in your office right next to you. In fact, in the first office where you describe it, you couldn't even, if someone came in, you described Frank Perdue, came into your office, was trying to sell you some chickens, and there was someone consulting with you, but Frank couldn't even see the person next to you. So you've always had this voice. That's why it's so apropos, you know, the comments, because she's been always in your head, making comments, directing you, and from the book, Margot had such a huge part of this whole thing that was built.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted you to comment on when you saw Father Alex that day, and you were telling him about your life and what were you going to do personally, and then out of your mouth came, "I want sunshine." Can you just describe that and what sunshine means to you?
You know, no matter how tough of a day, you know, it's very important to marry well. No matter how tough of a day I had, when I came home, Margot was my sunshine. and I would always laugh and smile along with her. Thank you, Marco.
Just one more question.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I want to acknowledge my sunshine, Heather, and there's
Hello.
Brooke, and Courtney is here, or what, or was here, or is she? It's okay. All right, so those are my sunshines. But next one, I want you to talk about your mom and dad. Again, fascinated. In fact, your mom.